KYT's Michael Shore traveled all the way to Pennsylvania to attend a Trump rally and speak to some Trump supporters about their feelings on religion, whether or not Joe Biden is religious or Christian enough for them. All of that was interesting. But what really stood out to me about the video you're about to watch is what this one Trump supporter had to say about his political past and what made him support Trump eventually. Let's watch.
The Democrats and Republicans both have some real wrongdoers. I'll agree to that, okay? I have voted both sides. I voted for Barack Obama twice, and I felt duped, okay? And I know I will never vote Democrat again in my life, ever, okay? And I take that to the bank, okay? They'll never change. Their color has been written. The Communist Party has now taken hold of them, and they are directing them. And people have got to wise up, and they need to do their research, and they need to understand that the truth, the real truth, is out there.
Now, I know he went into this weird talking point about how Democrats have become communists, which is laughable because the issue that he complains about in the beginning of his statement, David, about being duped by Obama, would tell you that no, Democrats have actually gone in the opposite pro-corporate direction, not the communist direction, right? But look, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so we have to keep that in mind. Not everyone is steeped in politics, constantly reading and researching about politics. And if you're in a filter bubble, a conservative filter bubble, all you hear repeatedly is how Democrats have become communists, which couldn't be further from the truth. But I do think that the anger he felt toward Obama is telling, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
No, I think you're absolutely onto something, because I think what he's doing here is I don't think he really knows what communist means. I think what he's getting at is that there's this sort of establishment government that has been corrupted, that the system is corrupt. And it gets to some of the same things that, for example, Bernie Sanders was saying in 2016 and 2020, and what you've just mentioned, and that is even the Democratic Party is beholden to corporate special interests. And for all the hope that we had that Barack Obama was gonna be able to break some of this, even he was beholden and had either willingly or unwittingly was not able to get certain things done. So there is disappointment among people who felt like, well, maybe our government can be returned to us, when yet even there's Barack Obama, who is beholden corporate interests in the Democratic Party, and so therefore he feels duped. He comes out with this sort of bizarre explanation about communism, but I think you're absolutely right. It's about feeling that the institutions cannot be trusted and that the people are being left behind. And that anger, I think, then manifests itself in some of the crazy theories and labels that people then tend to put on Democrats and anybody they decide they don't like.
So I go out of my way to listen to and watch conservative media because I do want to understand, like, what kind of information are people getting? What kind of arguments is the right wing making? Do they maybe have a point on some issues? Like, I think it just makes you better informed to know, to break out of your own filter bubble and just know what the other side is up to. And so I can kind of decode the communism talking points, because the way the right wing media presents communism is not like some economic model. They talk about it the way that Jordan Peterson talks about so-called cultural Marxism, right? Where it's all about their anti-woke, campaign. They think communism is just, language policing and culture policing and, people concerned about inequality based on race and stuff like that. But no, communism is an economic model, and how it's applied, that's really the question, right? He doesn't realize, and I think it's, again, because of the disinformation and misinformation you see in the right-wing media, that communism is something completely different. And I'm not saying that as someone who's like saying we need communism. I'm just saying that it's intentionally misrepresented in right-wing media. At the same time, the very issues that this voter was frustrated with Obama on are issues that Republicans would double down on, would want to see more of, right? Essentially, more free trade agreements that allow for corporations to ship jobs over to other countries to exploit cheap labor. That is what Republicans have loved for decades and supported for decades. Further tax cuts for the rich, which happened again under the Trump administration. Cutting the corporate tax rate from 35% all the way to 21%, and that doesn't even close the corporate loopholes that make the effective tax rate for corporations so low that incredibly profitable multi-billion-dollar corporations like Amazon literally pay nothing in federal taxes and get a tax refund sometimes at the end of the year when they file their taxes. Like, these are the issues that infuriate voters on both sides of the aisle. It's just that they're constantly being distracted with the intentionally divisive issues that both the media and our politicians intentionally weigh in on to divide and conquer. I think that is the heart of a lot of the issues we're seeing in the country right now.
Indeed, and there's nobody better at disentangling this at these Trump rallies than Michael Schur. He's the original Babe Ruth. What Babe Ruth had with a bat in his hand, Michael Schur has with a microphone. I mean, for the rest of us who do these rallies, nobody does it as well as Michael Schur. And I just wish sometimes that there was a second camera that was on Michael's face when these people see this, so we can see the gears going in his head and see his jaw tightening as he's trying to figure out, okay, what's the response to this guy?
Yeah, exactly. I always appreciate how calm he is, regardless of the, sometimes insane things that come out of the mouths of people he's interviewing. But anyway, we have the full video with a bunch of other Trump supporters interviewed up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theyoungturks to watch that.